Hello, welcome to your yoga practice today. We are going to be working into the lower body quite a lot today. So some strengthening, but also some wonderful relaxation using our legs up the wall quite a lot for the latter part of the practice. So you will want to have either a stool or a side table, or you can use a wall today, so something you can lean on. But also you will need to have a wall at some point. So either using a wall, I've got the radiator behind me, which is perfect, that we are going to bring the legs a little bit wider for a couple of our poses. So it can be the side of a bed as well. Anything that is a surface that's flat that you can either rest your legs up onto or let them go a little bit wider. And once you've found your place that you want to practice today, then meet me on the mat, lying on your back and elevating our feet up onto either our wall or our chair or stool. See you soon. So making your way onto your backs comfortably, and the legs are going to go up either to a stool, a ledge, or a wall. And if you don't have either of these things or any of these things for now, don't worry. You can just bring your legs up to the sky, but we will need to use it a little bit later on. Maybe closing down the eyes and allow your legs to rest. We are working with the lower body today. We are working with bringing some awareness into strengthening, activating, stretching, and grounding. When we use the energy in the legs, we can burn off some of the kind of cortisol, the stress hormones, which then can allow us to relax. We're also going to be working with big muscle groups, so that stress response will kick in and enabling us to exert some of the energy that we might need when we're stressed, and then afterwards we can unwind and relax. So we'll be using a little bit of effort in the beginning of our practice today, some strong exertion, and then we will be coming to the wall and actually relaxing and encouraging softness for the latter part of our practice. So for now, I just want you to feel the energy from the toes trickling down towards the hips, the belly, the heart, the head. No effort is needed to begin our session. Just simple awareness of what you can feel. Inviting a steady breath just to fan that energy around your body softly. Again, minimal effort with the breath, so you don't have to take a strong breathing pattern here, just a very soft and simple way of breathing organically. One more breath. If your eyes are closed, just softly blink the eyes back open. And our right leg is going to elevate up towards the sky. And we can begin to move the toes, the ankle, and even look at the foot and just look at how amazing our feet are, how they can move. Maybe starting to take a little bit of inversion, eversion with the foot. Notice if there's any tension in your feet. And if your feet are feeling quite tight, your toes, your ankles, you've got limited movement, that will potentially affect the rest of the line up the leg, into the hips, the backs, and etc. So thinking how our feet as being these really important supportive pads almost for encouraging strength and mobility throughout the rest of the body. And then we're going to bend our knee, maybe take the hands and just gently wrap around the knee. I like to feel the movement of the knee as I bend and straighten. Also the warmth of your hands, unless they're cold, can feel quite nice as well. So you're just feeling into that movement of the knee joint. It doesn't have to be an aggressive movement, it can be really slow. I'm just feeling around the knee. My knee clicks a lot. So if you do got cracks and clicks going on, just check that they're not painful. So just feeling into the range of motion the knee has. And then keeping the knee bent, we're going to then explore the hip of the right. And this is just a mobility explore. So we're not trying to deepen into the hip, stretching it out too far, but we're just allowing a little bit of lubrication for the synovial fluid and just seeing what range of motion you have today. Is there any discomfort? Is there any tension? If not, great. If so, just become aware of that. And then placing that right leg back to your surface, and we'll swap legs. So left leg goes up, moving the toes. And seeing what your toes can do. Maybe starting to rotate into the ankle. My left leg's my tight side. You might have a similar experience of one side feels very different from the other. We can just explore that. Then we can even invert the foot. So just notice these incredible amounts of movement. And it's really great when we look at our feet. We can see all the tendons and we can see all the muscles and the joints and how incredible our feet are when they move. I used to find feet really gross. And then I started massaging. I was like, wow, feet are so cool. They're just amazing parts of our body. Okay, then we can bend and straighten the left knee. Again, you can wrap your hands softly around the knee and just feel this movement. Noticing this hinging. And if there is a little bit of rotation when the knee is bent, how much is there? And does that feel good? Or does it need to be more stable? And then we'll keep the left knee bent and again explore into that left hip this time. Just the range of motion you have. Not overstretching into your hips, but just playing with the mobility that is available. And if there is a little bit of discomfort, we can ease our way out. We don't have to stay and force the body in any way at all. Not just today, but ever, really. Good, this time we're going to drop the left foot down to the floor and join it with the right. So the right foot comes back down. And we're going to drop the knees from side to side and thinking of feeling from your feet all the way up towards the buttocks. So you might spend a bit of time feeling into what the feet feel like as we rock from side to side, and then draw that awareness up maybe all the way up the legs to the buttocks, observing what it feels like for your glutes. We're going to work the glutes today. Oh yeah, we are. And so we're just feeling into that sensation as they get massaged across the back and into the sacrum, and all the way out to the greater trochanter, this big bone at the edge of the hip. Good. Coming back to the center, we can take hold of the knees and circle around the same direction to massage into the sacral bone. So that triangular shaped bone you can feel as you move around on the back. And if you know that you're very tight in the SI joints, that kind of bit right in the center, often where we have little dimples, is where our SI joint is. Not all of us have the dimples though, so still in that similar location. So you might want to just take the knees out a little bit wider and explore what it feels like if you know it's quite a tight space. If it's a very wobbly area for your body, glute work is going to be great for you. So just noticing if actually you're like, yeah, I've got so much range of motion and I know that I have lots of back pain. Glute medius work can feel really great to stabilize this joint, the SI joint. Lovely. Now we have two options here. Option one, come up onto the elbows. Maybe give yourself a little bit of space. And we're going to come up into a squat. I'm going to use my surface, my chair here, to help me squat. If you're like, I can't do that, come up all the way upright. Bring your hands to your surface and just squat as far down as you would like to go. Listen to your joints, listen to your knees, and I want your knees to kind of go over your toes a little bit. So we're using our support to help us work a little bit into the hips, the lower back. And you can turn your feet out a little bit, or you can actually keep your toes turned in. I've got my toes turned kind of more parallel here. But again, work with your body today and what you really want to kind of work with. One more breath. Now we're going to slowly push down through the feet. Hands can come to the ground because we're going to tuck the toes under and sit on our heels. You knew it was coming. You were like, she's going to be working the feet. She's going to be working into those lovely toes. Now remember, if this is too intense for your body, just bring the weight forward. You can always slide a cushion or a pillow or something underneath the sit bones if you need that, if you find that this kind of closing of the joint does not work for your body. We're not here for too long, but check that that little toe, my left little toe does love to untuck itself, is tucked under. So try and tuck your toes under as best as they can and feel the stretch in the bottom of your feet, the base of your feet. Really important that we have mobility, flexibility in our feet when we're working with stability and stabilizing our body. Think if you would have really cramped, closed feet, how hard it would be to actually be able to balance the rest of your body. If you have massive, wide, big pads that can maneuver with our body, how much better that's going to be for stabilizing when we're wobbly. One more breath. Now lean the weight forward. We're going to flatten the tops of the feet to the floor and we're going to sit back onto the heels. Now this might be the worst for you. You might think, oh gosh, I prefer the tucked toes. Now if this is still feels bad, just lean the weight forward. Again, if it feels really great and you're like, oh, so yummy, you might want to pick up one knee, maybe swap and do the other, or we can do both at the same time. A little bit of core work needed here. And try and avoid sickling the feet just for today. So avoid the heel coming out, toes coming in, and just keep the heel in line with the toes so we get across the front of the ankle. Tends to be where we're quite tight. If you run or do anything like this that involves kind of running movements, ankles can get very tight. To be fair, if you're just in shoes all day and we don't get a lot of kind of pointing going in our feet, plantar flexion, and we're doing a lot of dorsiflexion, it can be very, very tight across the front of your ankles. One more breath. And then we release the knees back down. Bring the hands back towards your stool or your chair or your wall. And we're going to come up into a nice forward fold position and just swing the hips around a little bit. If your arms don't touch the floor, it's fine, or you can bend your knees. Maybe just have a little explore of any areas that might feel tense. If you know that your hamstrings are tight, that's fine. Loose hamstrings are not everything. In fact, if you know your hamstrings feel very loose here, you might be like, yeah, this is an area I want to strengthen. A lot of the time in yoga, we kind of celebrate really, really like open bodies, but actually sometimes they have a harder job of stabilizing. So if you're in that position, like, yeah, I find it really hard to actually build strength and stabilize the joints, it's okay that actually you're not maybe as flexible, or if you are very flexible and you don't feel quite as strong, we're all working with something. Good, now we're going to curl up slowly. Push down through the floor. So feel that energy going down into the earth. Feel your legs switch on. As you roll up really slowly, take your time. Allow the arms to maybe dangle. So we're working with the gravitational pull all the way up to standing on both of our feet. And when we get to a standing position, maybe bend your knees a little bit. Let standing be easy. Standing should be effortless for a short amount of time. We're just going to stand here and allow the feet to sink in. Get them used to feeling the weight of your body. You can wiggle your toes around, invert, evert. Just have a little play. And then find that position where you're like, yeah, I feel good here. It's effortless. I can lengthen through the spine. I can relax the shoulders and the jaw. I'm going to go straight in for working into our lovely sequence, all on one side, using our stool, and then repeating it all on the other. And then I promise you'll enjoy the latter part of the practice because we'll just be lounging around with our legs up the wall. So our hands are going to come to either our stool or the surface that we have or the wall. If you're working with a wall, your arms are going to be more out like this as opposed to down here. So do be aware that we want to hinge from the hips, not round from the spine as best we can. We're going to bring a bit more weight into the right foot and extend the left leg back. Now trying to keep your right knee bent the entire time. And you should straight away feel glute medius being like, oh, hello, on your right side. So you're stabilizing muscle of glute medius all the way from the greater trochanter out across the top of the glutes in towards the sacrum. Now all we're going to do here is take that left leg out to the left side, so making a little quarter circle, going back to the center and then going over to the right just as far as you can without letting your hips move. Avoid a sickling of the foot, so try and make the movement happen from the actual hip. We'll go nice and slow to begin with, so slowly going all the way out towards the left and then back across just as far as the leg goes without sickling the foot to the right. Let's speed this up a little bit. To the left and behind. Out and behind. Now, just for a front visual, the hips are staying stable. You're hinging from your hips here, not flexing from your spine. And the only movement that's happening is the leg. The foot is also staying nicely extended, so pointing the foot. And we're just getting, you should feel straight away that glute med in your right leg, being like, oh, yes, hello, you've woken up. Couple more, we're nearly there. The next time we bring the leg behind us, we're then going to bend the left knee to the right calf muscle and then extend it all the way back behind, as high as it will go without extending into the spine. We bend knee to calf, extend back, knee to calf, extend back. You should be feeling glutes and hamstrings of the left leg as we extend the leg behind. And yeah, I know you can feel the right leg. I know, because I can feel it too. I promise you that. Bend, extend. Couple more. Bend, extend. Last one. Bend, extend. If you have a stool or a side table, drop your forearms onto it. Flex the left foot and push the leg up, up, up. So try and check that our toes are pointing down. Our leg is as straight as it can be. And we're not doing this from the spine. We're doing this from the glute and hamstring. So it doesn't have to be a big movement. Keep the right knee bent so we're not straightening into that right leg. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to leave the right hand into our surface. Open up. Left hand to the hip or the waist, and bring that left foot slightly in front of the hip. We'll draw it into the center and push it back out. Draw it in, push it back out. Draw it in and out. Think about every time you push, we're squishing through something. So it's not just kind of mindless movement. There is control as we move. You should feel your obliques as well, and your left side contracting as well, and your muscles activating to stabilize this position. One more. In and out. Hold it out long, and we're just going to lift up, up, up. It's that killer bit, and you're like, please stop now, Kate. Keep going. Lift. This isn't happening from your torso. This is just a little leg lift. So let it be small, intense, but small. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to cross the left ankle over the right thigh and sink back. Using your stool here, feel the glute of the left leg get a nice stretch out. I know your right leg's talking to you still, but don't panic. We've got plenty of time to stretch and move and relax at the end. Good. Coming back up onto the hands, the left leg's going to go behind you. And we're going to drop the left heel into the floor and pick up the right toes. Right heel, right toes. Again, you might just want to have a little bit of a more deeper fold. So if you have an extra layer on your stool, you can maybe take your hands a bit lower, or you can come into a full forward fold over that right leg if that feels good. If you prefer to stay a bit higher, which today I definitely do, stay higher, and you can always wiggle a little bit into the hips. So have a little play. You can move the leg around, wiggle the hips. Good. One more breath. Now, rebend the right knee. You might want to take the left foot a little bit further behind you, and we can have the support of the stool here, so you can have the fingertips touching the wall or the stool. So we're going to bend the back knee towards the earth, and then straighten the back knee. Keep the front knee bent. And again, bend and straighten. The front knee will bend a little bit more, but it's not coming to a straight knee. So we're keeping the front knee bent. Now imagining you're pushing down deeply through that right heel, so you get a really lovely feeling going all the way into the buttock. Bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. 2 more. Bend and straighten. Last one, bend. Now we're opening into goddess, so turning out the left foot. Now you may want to leave the stool coming into goddess, or make sure you can still reach and touch the stool for balance support for our next little bit. We're going to lift the right heel and lower, left heel and lower. And try and keep your weight down into the center of the body. So we're not lifting and shifting. We're keeping the Distribution of weight in the center. All we're doing is lifting one heel and lowering, lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. You can stay with this. Or both heels, lower, both heels and lower. So working with both heels going up and down, keeping nice and low in your goddess squat. Couple more. 3, 2, 1. Maybe keep the heels lifted or the heels can lower, and we're going to pulse down, 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 down. Good, down. Keep pushing the thighs open, so work your buttocks here. Your calf muscles will be on if your heels are lifted as well. Oh yeah, and you can feel the thighs, right? You can feel the thighs, the quadriceps. I can feel them. I'm going for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the heels down. We're going to turn towards the back of our mat, so towards the left knee. Bend the right knee and hold the squat, the lunge. Hold. Imagine you've got something in between your legs and you're pulling your feet towards each other. Your glutes are switched on as well. And you're breathing, firing up those legs. Feel the strength and energy your amazing lower body can generate. One more breath. We come back through the goddess and we turn back towards the right foot. Either hands or forearms can come onto our surface and we'll lift the left leg up, warrior 3 variation. And then opening into our half moon, we've just been here, we're going to hold. Holding nice and strongly, breathing. And if you fancy it, reach the right arm forward, maybe joining the left arm over the head. Good, one more breath. Lovely. Lowering the left foot down a little bit behind the right foot, turning towards your stool, find the balance first, come up onto the balls of the feet, squeeze the legs towards each other and lift the arms up high. Reaching for the sky, squeezing the legs. Find a little drishti point to help you balance. Feel activation all the way from the tips of the toes to the finger edges. And then slowly lower the heels down softly as if we're squidging into a sponge. Good. Now we're going to turn towards the right. So the right toes turn out. We turn and pivot on the left foot. Now you might want to bring the left foot a bit further back towards the long edge into a little curtsy squat. And we come down and up. So just a little curtsy. You should feel the right buttock switching on and the hamstrings. So imagining we're just sitting down onto a little stool underneath the right butt cheek. If you need your surface for support, use your surface to support you. Now stay nice and low, hold. Feel everything kind of contracting to hold you here, but you should have the freedom to move the arms around if you want to move the arms. So we're strong and stable in the lower body. We can move the upper body around a little bit. Good. Now we're going to spin all the way around, pivoting on our feet, spinning, 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 and going to this kind of curtsy squat on the other side. I'm going to play with that again. Spin all the way around, pivot on your feet, and go all the way to the squat on the other side. And again, pivot, 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 pivot. Good. Last time, pivoting it all the way back to the long edge of the mat. Right hand comes to the stool, leaning into the right foot, and let's place the left foot into either the ankle, calf muscle, or inner thigh. So avoid the knee joint, just because not going to feel that nice over time, pressing into the ligaments of the knee. Maybe the hands come to the hips, the waist, and if you find you kind of sink into this right hip, just see if you can lift up and out. Wherever we are, you might think, this is super, super easy for me. Let's see if we can mix up a little bit. So you might want to move your head around, playing with a bit of the vestibular system, so the inner ear, related closely to our balance. And when we start to move the head around, we might wobble a bit more. So we're trying to figure out where our body is in space and how we balance. Whoa, yeah. Wobbling is wonderful. It's how we learn. And we fall out, we just come back in and try again. What's the point of practicing something we are perfect at? We then add an extra challenge to challenge ourselves. Yeah, we can practice what we're good at, but in order to learn and grow, we have to practice the things that we're not. Good, one more breath. Right leg should be on fire. Mine is. Now step that left foot out a little bit wider. Turn the right toes back towards your stool. Maybe reach for your stool with your right hand. We're in a Trikonasana triangle. Left arm can come up and over. You can go down as low as you'd like, feeling into the hips, the inner thigh, the medial hamstring. If you want to have a little bit more space, maybe make it wider, maybe wiggle. And see what you can feel in your body. Good. We come back up nice and slowly. Stepping the left foot back a little further and come through a warrior two. Bending deeply into the front knee. Right knee is bent. And just hold the body here nice and strongly. Doesn't have to look perfect. We are not trying to find a perfect warrior two. Does that even exist? Question mark. I'm throwing that one out to you. Does a perfect warrior two exist? I'm sure you know my answer. Just the one thing that I want you to check is that this right knee is in line with your middle toes roughly, just so we don't put pressure on the ligaments of the knee. And we're taking the external rotation from the actual hip joints. Your glutes, believe it or not, should be switched on to help. Rotate into the hip. I know you can feel it. One more breath. Now let's reach towards our stool or our wall, and we'll lift the left arm up and over. So in a side angle variation, keep the lunge nice and deep. Maybe bend a little bit more into that right leg and use your right hand to press into our surface. Good. Pivoting on the left ball of the foot, turning towards our chair, and we'll drop the left knee down. Maybe pick up the right heel to get a little bit more space and opening up through the chest. Squeezing our buttocks, support the lower back. Breathing nice and slowly. And if you feel that you're comfortable enough, maybe lift the arms up and away from our stool. Hands will come back down to our stool. Drop the right heel, tuck the left toes and hop the foot a little bit closer, and then join the right foot to the left and come through our chair downward facing dog or wall downward facing dog. Avoid collapsing completely into the chest and think more about pulling back into the shoulders. Knitting the lower rib cage in a little bit here, and your head can release. Okay, we're going to come up onto the balls of the feet and start to come into a variation of a plank. So pushing into your chair, I actually honestly find this harder than a normal plank. So we're going to push into our surface, trying to keep the sacrum, scapula, shoulder blades, and back of the skull in one line. My body's really shaking. Breathe. And then step the left foot in. Guess what? We're straight into the second side. I'm going to lift up, keeping the left knee bent, just tapping the right toes to the floor. I'm going to go out to the right side. How evil, I didn't even give you a break. Going across and behind. Out to the side. Remember, we're hinging from the hips, not rounding from the spine. Out and behind. Avoid the hips wiggling with you as well. So no spine S shapes. It's just the leg. And it doesn't matter how far that left or right leg, I should say, goes behind. It doesn't matter at all. Okay, keep going. I'm just turning this to the other side so you can still see me. Behind and out. Keeping the left knee deeply bent. You should feel your left glute medius is switched on. Good, couple more. Last one. Now let the right leg go behind. We're going to curtsy, extend the right leg back. Curtsy and extend. Curtsy and extend. Oh yeah, curtsy and extend. Again, remember we're using the muscles to lift that leg up. Curtsy, extend. Curtsy, extend. Couple more. Curtsy, extend. Last one, hold the right leg up there. Forearms can come down to the stool if we're using a stool. Flex the right foot. Try and keep the left knee a little bit bent and using the effort of the glute and hamstring of the right leg to pulse up, up. It's a small movement, but my goodness, can you feel it? Yes, love it. Love a bit of glute work. And you should be feeling your left leg as well, which is stabilizing you. What I love about these exercises for doing glutes, standing, is you're not just working one leg, you're working both. Get a couple more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left hand comes to our surface. We open up the hip. You can turn that left foot in a little bit if you need to. And then we're going to draw the right knee in to the center and back out. Drawing it in and out. Height is not important, but we're thinking about the intention of what we're trying to do here. Good. Pulling in and out. In. You might feel the obliques also starting to activate. Couple more. In and out. Last one. In and out. Holding it out there. Bring the foot a little bit further forward than the hip and just pulse up. Up. This is the killer bit. We're going to pulse, pulse, pulse. You're so nearly there. Try and let it be small. Again, remember what we're trying to work. Rather than the whole body trying to do this because you're tired, lower it down. Make it smaller, but still using these lovely leg muscles. For 3, 2, and 1. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh. Oh, and sink back into our figure 4. God. Ouch. Just know that I'm doing this with you. I am 100% with you on the pain. I promise you that. Couple more breaths here. Good, one more breath. Lovely. Now that right leg's going to go behind you, dropping the right foot into the earth, and then starting to lift the left toes up, maybe folding forward a little bit, maybe coming down a little bit lower if you can, or even to the floor if you would like. You might want to wiggle around, just taking a little bit of movement. Feel what works best for your body today. And also noticing, you've just worked into the hips, into the buttocks. You can move the hips around and see what feels good to release some of that tension. We worked very linear, so we're working with very linear movements for strength. So we can then kind of wiggle a bit to unravel some of that kind of movement that feels very straight back, side, side. Good, rebend the left knee, step the right foot back a little further, and you can keep your hands on your surface for support. We're just bending the back right knee almost to the ground and straightening the back right knee. Left knee stays bent. Bend and extend. Now you should feel your legs quite strongly. So think about the energy going from the knee into the heel rather into the ball of the foot here, because I want you to feel the glute and hamstring. Good. Bend, extend. Bend, extend. Couple more. Bend, extend, bend, extend. One more, bend, hold, and then open to our goddess shape. You can go as low as you need to go. Hands, if you need that support, I'm going to crab wiggle over to my stool. Have the stool there or the wall. We're going to lift up left heel and lower, right heel and lower, left, right, left. Remember your center of gravity is right through the center of your body. You're not leaning over to the side that you're lifting or opposite. So try and think about how your body can be stable here. Maybe try both heels up and down. Have a play. Where does it hurt? Good. A couple more. Now either the heels can stay lifted or you can lower the heels down and then pulse down, down, down. Keep pushing the knees open, shoulders stacked over the hips as best you can. Pulse, pulse. Just avoid overarching your spine. So we're knitting that lower rib cage in a little bit here. We'll go for 3, 2, and 1. Drop the heels down, turn away from your support, coming through a nice little lunge. We're going to hold. Imagine you've got something squished between your legs and you're trying to squeeze onto it, engaging all the muscles of your legs. Breathe. Still keep the breath. And then come back through goddess. Turn towards your support and we'll lift up into our warrior 3 and then open to our half moon. Good. So we were just here a moment ago, right? Like, not this one again. Now, see if you can then maybe lift the left arm forward. Maybe the right arm goes over the head. Breathe. We're nearly there. Lower the right foot back into the ground, turn towards your chair and come up onto both teeth back in, balls of the feet. Find the balance and then lift the arms up to the sky. Squeeze the legs towards each other. Find maybe a drishti point, a gaze point for your eyes, so you feel a little bit more focused to balance. Keep reaching up, 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 up. Good. So the only parts of your feet that are touching the floor are the toes and the balls of the feet. And then slow lower down of the heels, slowly up, squidging into thick mud. Good, we're going to turn to the left side. So turn the left foot out. You might want to step the right foot slightly over to the right side. So we come through our little curtsy squat. And we can just pulse here. Pulse, 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 pulse. Good. Holding the squat. Breathing. And then sweeping all the way round, going to the other side. So you're just spinning on your feet, the squat the other way. Turning back on your feet. Whee, all the way towards the left side. And back again. Great for our feet to move. Good for our cerebellum. It's the part of the brain that helps with coordination and also accuracy of movement and balance. Good, coming back to the left side, right side technically, so the left hand comes to your chair or your wall and you pick up the right foot to place it into either ankle, calf or inner thigh. Tree. Hands can go wherever you want them to. Now, if you find tree super easy and you're like, yeah, I could be here all day, easy. Test the balance. Move the head around. Have a little play. If you wiggle and wobble a lot, great. You're learning. We get so obsessed with things having to look so perfectly, I find. But actually, it's really fun when we allow ourselves to be imperfect, because that's how we are designed. And we get to learn from this. I can feel my calf muscles just going, this is hard work, Kate. One more breath. Good. Coming back to the center, place the right foot a little bit further away from you. Turn the left toes back towards your stool. Left hand comes in, and we come through Trikonasana. And you can go as low in as you'd like. So triangle pose, what are you feeling in your body? And we're rooting down to the feet here. I love that feeling of like the feet just connecting into the ground. Let the energy sink downwards as you play and explore up above with the arms. We'll come back up slowly. Heel toe the right foot away a little bit more. And we're going to come through into our warrior two. Holding your warrior two. Breathing here. Find strength, stability. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be beautiful. We're feeling strong and capable of holding this pose how we would like to hold it for the next few moments. One more breath. Good, we turn back towards our chair, pivot on the right ball of the foot, drop the left knee down, low lunge, maybe lift the right heel up. And we're squeezing the buttocks, supporting the lower back. And if it feels good, you might want to lift the arms up. Try and keep the ears least in line with the arms rather than letting the head drop back, which, my God, feels horrible for my neck. But just be careful of your neck here. We want the spine to feel like it's lengthening as it's opening and extending backwards rather than crunching. We only get really one spine. I know we can do lots of amazing things now with science and, yeah, great, we have amazing doctors, but we really do want our spine to stay quite nice and healthy. One more breath. Good, bring the heel down, hands down, tuck the right toes, land the right foot into the floor and step back into your chair or wall, downward facing dog variation. And we're thinking here of elongating through that lovely spine of ours. If you want more, obviously for the hamstrings, you can come down a little bit lower, but try and think of what the intention is. We still want to keep that spine elongated, get a stretch of the upper body as well. And again, the feet feel wonderful here, being really grounded into the earth. What a joy. Here we go, plank on the chair. So when I'm going to start to shake, come up onto the balls of the feet. Shifting the weight forward, pushing strongly down through your wall or your surface, and try and keep your neck and your head in line. That was a cue for myself there. I was like, oh no. So think sacrum, scapula, and skull in one nice long line as best you can, and keep pushing down through your hands. You should feel, every part of your body active, every single part here. Breathe. Let's take one more inhale. Exhale, right foot comes in, left foot joins, and we're going to come back to standing. Oh, release. Now we're going to just do a little stretch. Now if you're using a stool, you might have to adjust this a little bit. If you're using the wall, it's really nice on the wall. So we'll bring the feet forward. If you're using a stool or a surface, you can just kind of perch your bum onto that. And then start to come forward. Now because my stool doesn't feel massively stable, I'm going to walk my hands down the legs of my stool so it doesn't fall over, and you can fold in as far as you would like to go. If you're using a wall or something that's a lot more stable than a stool, it's a little bit easier, and you can just fold forward and your arms can come to the floor. You might want to play with lifting and lowering the toes, see what happens down the legs, maybe just shaking out the head and the neck. I also quite like turning out the feet, feeling the medial hamstrings. So as we turn out the toes, you get a little bit more going up the inside of the leg. There's two of them. Or turning in the toes. And you might get a little bit more going out the outside of the legs. Just play with what feels interesting. And breathing nice and slowly. Just using that kind of gravitational pull to help you draw inwards. One more breath. And then curling up nice and slowly. Take your time. All the way up to standing. Well done, guys. So if you have a stool, move it off to the side so it's not going to be in your way. This is the next part, which is super lovely. So we're going to want to have our wall or something. A sofa works quite well here as well. So we want to have something or something that's long enough that we can actually keep the legs elevated for a relatively long amount of time. So we're going to come onto the back. Favorite pose, legs up the wall. Love this position. Could be here for like 20 minutes at a time. But we won't do that for too long. Now you want to have the lower back supported. So depending on how open your hamstrings are and how your body is structured, you may discover that you need to shift the hips a bit further back from the wall, or you can go closer to the wall depending on how your body feels. So as long as you're comfortable and you can feel the entire back connected to the earth, then staying here and resting for a couple of minutes. Just enjoying a little bit of time to soften. Don't worry, I've got the clock close to me, so I don't leave you here all, 20 minutes we have left. Because I could probably stay here for the rest of the time. And we're flipping that gravitational pull. So we'll feel gravity pulling all the energy from our feet, our ankles, our knees, our hips into the earth to recharge. Obviously, you know that you've got the weight now coming off of your joints. So what a wonderful thing to be able to alleviate the pressure from your joints that tend to have the opposite feeling all day, including when we're sat. So not just when we walk or run or move, even when we're sat, we're now taking some of that pressure off all our joints. Allowing the blood flow to come back up to the heart a little bit more easily. Allowing the lymphatic system to move. This is great for connecting to the parasympathetic nervous system, so calming us down. So after all that effort and energy we did with the legs, great for burning off some cortisol, great for us to actually feel energetic. Now we're slowing it down. So we're going to take a second pose. Now, bending at the knees, bringing the soles of the feet together and letting the feet slide down as far as you'd like down the wall. I use my hands and just gently press them into the thighs, just so that they can relax and don't just drop in and they'll come off the wall. Now, again, remember, if you need to come closer to the wall, you can, or if you would like to go a little bit further away from the wall, you can do so. And just breathing here nice and slowly. This tends to feel really great across the lower back, particularly if you're tight in your SI joints. You might discover it feels a bit more spacious here. And the wonderful thing about doing these variations on the wall is that we don't have to keep the spine in any other position than where it is. So we can play with the mobility of our hips whilst keeping the spine in a beautifully neutral position. So it's much more accessible if you know that you're very tight, and much more relaxing. One more breath here. Now we have two options for our next pose. Option one, take your feet wide. Now you might need to adjust the position of your arms. Your hands, upper arms can go into the floor, and you can just collect around the outsides of the knees. This is great just for support. You might not need the hands, you might just be allowed to enable the legs just to open where they do. So it's like a squat against the wall, but nice and wide with your legs. Now, if you would like to do it a little bit different, extend the legs out and just let them go as wide as they'd like to go. For some reason, this is like my favorite pose. Don't ask. I mean, it's intense. I'm not saying it's easy. It's really intense for me, but I really like it. And I actually have really strong memories of having to do this at school when we were in dance classes. It's like, let your legs go really wide. And I mean, it felt like torture back then. So now it just feels great. Now, if this does start to pull on your knees, or you do want to take your hands and place them under your thighs, you can do so. Or again, come back to the bent knee version, where you have a little bit less intense going through the hips and the medial hamstrings and inner thighs. So the options are there. Just breathing nice and slowly. We're not trying to torture the body here, so we want it to be as comfortable as possible. Now, very gently, you may need to use your hands to help guide your legs straight back up towards the sky. Now, we're going to take two options for our figure 4. So we can leave the left leg extended out and place the right ankle to the left thigh, and maybe the right hand just gently pushes into the right thigh, again just for support so that it stays open and doesn't just collapse in towards the chest. Now you might need to shift a bit further away from the wall if you would like to then bend the left knee, which will actively increase the stretch, and you won't necessarily need the right hand. But try and keep the right foot flexed, so we're still encouraging that right foot to stay nicely flexed, just to support the knee. So it's not about how much you can bend this left knee in, but more about how is it affecting the hip and the right knee. So really consider that this is quite a vulnerable shape for your hip, so only do as much as it feels it likes, rather than absolutely obliterating into your joints here. So go easy, take it slow. I actually prefer a little less on that foot, the bent knee. And we'll breathe here. Any of these poses you can stay in for up to 2 minutes, or even 5 minutes if you feel like doing a more yin-like version of them. But you might notice how easy it is for your spine, how effortless it is for your body, and how you can access into your joints in a very different way from if you were doing this seated. Now we'll straighten the left leg if it's not already straightened, and draw the right knee as far across over as we can, so into like a half shoelace position. Interlace the fingers and hook around the outside of the right knee, and then just let the weight of the arms drop so that the knee slightly comes towards your chest, or technically slightly across towards your left shoulder. Now this might feel plenty, and you can feel maybe into the hip all the way down the outer edge, or if you would like to make it a little bit deeper or just a little bit different, we can take it to the full shoelace variation by bending the left leg and bringing the left foot to the outside of the right hip. I find it a little bit more intense just to have the hands behind the knee. I'm going to leave my left leg up. Again, work with what feels most comfortable for you. It's not right or wrong. It's what do I feel is most comfortable for me as I practice. Not me, you. So what do you feel most comfortable to actually experience and explore? Sometimes a little less is actually more beneficial. Now slowly bringing the right leg back up, extending the right leg. And we're going to bend left ankle is going to go to right thigh. Maybe the left hand just gently presses into the left thigh just to keep it out there. Again, don't push the leg away, so we're not trying to open the hip too deeply, but it's just so it doesn't collapse inwards. And if you do like the version of bending the right knee, which will intensely increase the stretch into the left hip straight away, then go for it. But just be considerate of keeping the flexion of the left foot to keep the knee from over twisting. You've got a bit of rotation in your knee when it's bent, so just be very careful the rotation's actually happening from the hip joint and not too much from your knee. Just breathing here into this joint, breathing here into this joint. That came out really wrong, didn't it? I'm feeling into the left hip joint. Good, couple more breaths. And then straightening the right leg up to the sky, we'll cross the left knee all the way over as far as it will go. And then interlace our fingers, wrapping the hands around the back of the left knee, and just let the weight of the arms drop that leg in where it wants to go. So remember, not pulling and forcing, we're just letting gravity do its work here. I mean, straight away I feel a pull into the outer edge of the hip, a little bit into my TFL actually on this left side. So really by the kind of edge of that hip. You'll feel it where you've got tension. And if you want to bend the right knee and bring it to the outside of the left hip on the wall, you can. That does intensify it a little too much for me. So again, working with your body. We're all built so differently, and that's what's so beautiful about our bodies, is that they're not the same, that they're all so unique in their own little ways. So that's why yoga has to be about felt experience and not a visual perfection. Although it might look very beautiful moving wise, it might look, oh wow, look at all these movements I can make, like a dance. It really is a felt experience as opposed to having to reach a particular position for it to be deemed perfect and yoga. Now very gently straighten that left leg back up to the sky. Give the toes the final little wiggle. And then we'll bring the knees in towards the chest, and you can roll onto one side. Doesn't matter which side you go to. Now we've been upside down for a while, so we're just going to pause in our fetal position for a few breaths here, just to acclimatize back to coming back to land. Or if we like, we've been up the mountains and we're just coming back down. If you've ever climbed up a mountain where there's thinning air and you come back down, it's like crazy amount of oxygen left. It's like, woohoo! So we don't want to get too much of a head rush. And then slowly making your way into Shavasana. So nice and easily, again, move nice and steady. We're going to come and lie flat onto the back. If you need a blanket or something comfortable, you can take that, or a pillow under the head, and let your legs go, mat distance or hip wider than hips as we lie back down onto the earth. Take up as much space as you need to soften into the ground. To really relax all of your muscles, your joints into the earth. Giving yourself the permission here to pause, to rest. And you can stay here for as long as you need. If your body tells you, I need longer, then just allow yourself to stay here. Or I will let you know in a few minutes when to move. Very slowly, begin to make movements, maybe from the toes first, maybe into the ankles, the feet, perhaps bending the knees in and rocking from side to side, moving into the hips, the back. You might want to draw the knees in towards the chest, maybe just hugging or rocking. Maybe you let your body fall all the way over to one side and you might pause in this little fetal position again. And we can lift the body up slowly. So take your time gently to come up to seated. There is no particular rush. I told you the latter part would be nice and restful. So finding a nice comfortable seated position so that we can elongate through the spine. Maybe rest the hands on the legs, the knees, the thighs. Perhaps closing the eyes or dropping the gaze for one final time. Connecting to your body. Notice your energy, your mood. Has it changed from when we began the practice? And if so, how? Notice your body. How has it changed from the beginning of your session? Where has it changed? In what way? On the next inhale, let's lift the arms up to the sky, take a final stretch, bringing the palms to touch. Once they connect, let them draw back down towards the heart center. Maybe softly bowing your head forward. Finding gratitude for your practice today. Namaste. Well done.